I started by saying I'm here to express a debt of gratitude. You heard about the early history of Governor Kane going to Washington, D.C. and seeing the famous wall, the mall down there, and deciding we should have one back here in New Jersey. Well, he wasn't the only one to decide. Actually, we had some enlisted guys, Army guys, Marine guys, who served in Vietnam, New Jerseyans, and they wanted it to happen too. And so that's the early 1980s. And the legislature gave us some support. One of the things it did, Bill mentioned this, is it passed a law saying that May 7th is New Jersey Vietnam Remembrance Day. And that was to help this group of people start to raise money by focusing on the last day we were in Vietnam, the infamous day that Hanoi fell, with the infamous photos of people trying to climb up the tower to get to the Huey with the North Vietnamese right on their tails. To me, one of the greatest days of shame in the history of our nation, to abandon those people as we did. But the legislature also does what it always does. It develops commissions and committees, and so the commissions studied whether or not we should have a memorial and said yes, and the committee said, well, if we're going to have a memorial, where and what should it look like? So by July 4th of 1988, the site had been determined, Homedale, and the design had been chosen by the architect who was able to escape from Hanoi. So we had momentum, but we had very little money. And that's where Craig Hurd came in. Craig decided he would do this May 30th, well, I thought it was October actually, but the May salute to veterans at the Byrne Meadowlands Arena. Oh, and I do want to, the thing I like the most about it is all the performers were the same performers who were famous and popular during the Vietnam War. And they were the performers that we listened to on Armed Forces Radio. So if I could just mention who they are. Jay Black, Jay and the Americans. Some of you older people can, rattle your jewelry when I say David Clayton Thomas of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Johnny Rivers, Ben E. King, Gary Plunkett of the Union Gap. Let's see, the Brooklyn Bridge. So these were people that really just, made us think about good times and bad times, but those times. And Craig put on this, I don't know if we had the organizational skills. If you showed the back of this poster, you've got committees that go this far. You must have like 100 names. Yeah. But he was able to put that together, and he and his wife donated $28,000 of the proceeds of this concert to our foundation to help us keep the momentum. And so we were still making progress until one day a person named Christy Whitman got elected governor, and she was married to a guy named John Whitman, who was a Vietnam veteran. And John Whitman was approached in January of 1994, Christy Whitman's first month in office, by Vietnam veterans on a train to Washington, going to the annual Chamber of Commerce event down there with all the businessmen from New Jersey meeting with the congressional delegation. And they said, this is where we are, this is what we've done so far, this is the support we've gotten so far, especially a guy named Ed O'Connor, a Hudson County state senator, now a Superior Court judge, and a Vietnam veteran. Ed O'Connor put his heart and soul. Now, up until then, up until Craig, we were one of the typical charities that has an annual gala, or we have a tennis outing and a golf outing. And you can make like $350, $400 doing that. But, in a gala, if you're lucky, $12,500. This guy raised $28,000 for us. And up until then, it was the largest gift we had ever gotten. So thank you.
I didn't know that.
So
it makes me more proud.
So we got the wall constructed with the 366 panels, one for every day of the year. 7 days, nobody from New Jersey was killed, but 1,563 of our boys and men perished in that war, and one woman, she was a flight nurse, perished in the line of duty when coming from one point to another. The airplane crashed into the side of the mountain in bad weather. So we're doing okay, but like Bill said, we're self-supporting. And people like Greg Hurd got us to where we are, and we'll forever appreciate what you've done for us.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
To be recognized by you, General, is an honor.
Thank you.
Because I remember the images so much in that concert where I asked the veterans to stand up.
Yeah.
And you could not hold back the emotion of anybody else in that room.
That concert did a couple of things for us. First of all, it's the first time when people thought it was okay to be a Vietnam vet and to be with other Vietnam vets and celebrate in public. I remember not long after that, in 1995, when General Norman Schwarzkopf, who had been 3 tours of Vietnam, and of course the genius behind Desert Storm, he dedicated our wall in 1995, and I was there with a bunch of other, I was in uniform still, with a bunch of other Vietnam vets, and Storm and Norman came out on the stage at the PNC Arts Center and said, "How many people here are Vietnam vets?" And almost every one of us raised our hands. He said, "I want to say one thing to you." And it really sort of liberated me. He said, "It's okay to be a Vietnam vet." And I was stunned momentarily for someone of his stature to tell me it was okay, that I didn't have to not talk about it anymore. So I thank Storm and Norman for that. And I thank you.
Thank you.